Welcome to episode 699 of the Entertainment 2.0 podcast, brought to you by thedigitalmediazone.com. I'm Josh Pollard.
And I'm Richard Gunther, and this is the show where we talk about our favorite movies, music, shows, and games. Oh, wait, no, that's not what we normally do, but...
No, that is what we normally do, but it's not what we're doing.
Do this time.
Right. We are doing a different episode. It's the end of the year. News is a little bit quiet as we head into CES next week. So we're going to do a different episode this week, and we are going to give you a recap of what are the things that we are using in our entertainment centers and around our houses and in the car and when we travel. What are the entertainment services and pieces of technology that we use day in and day out over the course of 2025? We'll highlight especially the things that have changed. We will still talk about what's going on in our entertainment centers. And then another fun end of the year recap. We're going to pick our favorite pieces of media for the year. So our favorite shows and movies, and I can't wait to hear about Richard's favorite video game of the year. It's going to be a surprise for everybody, I think. But before we get into any of that, we always like to start off the show with listener feedback if we have any, and this week we do. This one sent in to our email inbox, entertainment20@thedigitalmediazone.com, from frequent listener and commenter Gary. He says, I'm late to the party on this episode, but following your audiobook recommendation of Nuclear War, I thoroughly recommend you watch House of Dynamite. It's a fantastic novel approach to the topic. Gary, I did. And I agree. I completely agree. House of Dynamite, the movie on Netflix, it is a Netflix exclusive, I believe, also does a fantastic job of portraying what a nuclear war would look like. At least in House of Dynamite, it is 100% a fictional thing, and they only really show it from the U.S. side. So it's not the entire story, the nuclear war, the book covers. But yes, it's a fantastic movie. That may not even be the only time you hear me talk about that during this episode. He also says an audiobook recommendation from an author by the name of Dennis E. Taylor called Flybot. Gary describes it as a future of rogue general AI / biofabrication with organized crime and some interesting takes. And he says, if you're not looking for a series of books, it's just one book. So I appreciate that recommendation. I don't always love when people are like, you should read this book. It's one of 32 by the author. I'm like, that sounds like a bigger commitment than I'm looking for typically. But Gary, thank you for sharing the recommendations with us and the rest of the Entertainment 2.0 audience. So, Richard, let's jump into this. I guess I'll just have you go first. You can talk about what you're using everywhere, and then I'll follow up afterward.
Sure. So I'll primarily highlight things that have changed since last year, because there have been some changes. The primary place where we watch television and consume media in our home is in the family room. And there's not really any changes there. I'm still using the 65-inch LG OLED, still loving it. Still have the Sonos Arc and 2 Aero 100s in there. I have a HomePod Mini, which we use to conjure up music on our speakers throughout the house. We use Apple TV on that television, and I have the Hue Sync box, which was a ridiculously expensive addition to the room, but lots of fun, making the whole room kind of glow based on what's on the television. And I do, in fact, still love that. Not a regretted purchase at all.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to justify, would it make sense for me to buy that for another room? We'll talk about that in a minute.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second, because as I was looking through your list, I was like, why does he have a HomePod Mini in his living room? Can't he just talk and have his assistant hear him? Because my streamer has the assistant built in. I like, it didn't even occur to me that your devices wouldn't just automatically have that built in, but it makes sense.
Apple TV does have the assistant built into it, but you have to press the button on the remote, and the Apple TV has to be on for it to work.
Right.
So for me, we still want something to talk to in that space, and that's the primary space where we play music or start music in the house, because that's what the big open space when we walk downstairs and have breakfast and stuff like that. So it makes sense to have that in there. And I just have it set up so that we can tell it to play music downstairs. And downstairs is a zone in HomeKit for all of my AirPlay 2 compatible Sonos speakers. So then it just plays music throughout the whole downstairs.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, in my office, still the same frame television, still love it. I know that TV gets a lot of flack, but I do like it. I think it's still a good picture. It serves my purpose. I like that it's very discreet on the wall, and I use it for artwork more than anything else. I don't often watch television in there. It's usually just either some sort of motion background or some art that I've chosen to have up in the room. I did add a Sonos mini sub to my Sonos speakers in the office. So last year, I replaced my old Play 5s, which are the old version of the largest speaker that Sonos made, with two of the new versions of the smallest speaker that Sonos made, the Era 100s, without significant degradation in audio quality, but taking up a whole lot less room. But it still felt a little bit hollow. And so I added the Sonos Mini sub to my office this year, and it makes a world of difference. I love the sound of the audio coming through that combination of devices. The sub with the two 100s is just a surprisingly rich soundscape. Then in my workshop, I have my cheap TCL Google TV that I keep in there, and I use that mostly to watch YouTube videos while I'm working in there. I had a Sonos Connect, which was the old device that you used to tie in third-party audio into a Sonos system. I had that behind the television to feed television audio into the Sonos speakers that I have in my workshop. And it finally died. It's not so much that it died, it's more that it stopped working reliably. So I ended up in a situation where I was constantly having to switch audio sources, and it was driving me crazy. So I have an old Sonos port that I had purchased when the Sonos port came out and never used. So I ended up installing that and putting that in place of the Connect, and it works great. It's doing the same job as the Connect did, and I have audio on demand through my speakers whenever I turn the TV on, or I can just stream stuff to my speakers with my devices, because again, they're AirPlay speakers if they're the newer Sonos speakers. So glad we have that all fixed, and I have an old Connect box that I can retire. I was thinking of maybe donating it to Seth's antique technology museum that he's been accumulating over the years.
You know, it's interesting seeing a bunch of Sonos in here, because some of our friends, like our friends over at Smart Home Show, they're sick of Sonos. And
you mean Home Tech?
Home
the
Tech,
Smart
sorry,
Home Show
is
guys,
yours, right?
I know them.
Yes,
and
you know them
they
quite
like
well.
Sonos.
Yes. So, I mean, Sonos has not had a lot of positive news in 2025, but You're still sticking with it despite the app and all of that nonsense this year.
Yeah, because I don't use the app. The worst part of it is the app. And I don't really have any need for it. Through AirPlay and just streaming through other devices, I'm able to use the Sonos stuff perfectly. So, yeah.
Okay, that's a good reason.
Yep. In fact, funny you should mention that. So while we're talking about what's in my home, you were referencing the home tech guys. TJ's talked about getting rid of his Sonos gear and he's selling it off. I'm actually buying some of his old Sonos gear to add to my home to replace some of my very, very old Sonos gear. Because I still have some old Play Ones, like the first generation Play speakers. And they're not AirPlay compatible and they go on and off the network all the time. They're the only ones I have problems with.
Okay.
So, yeah. All right. So then I mentioned that I had bought AirPods Pro 3 and that I've been using them quite a bit. Of course, I use them as my hearing aids. I use them as now my primary audio when I'm on calls all day long. And they are now my earphones, whatever of choice when I'm on a plane. Now I've found that when I'm traveling, the noise cancellation and noise isolation in those devices is better than my Bose QC3s. So I've just started using the AirPods when I travel, and that's a whole lot less to carry than my old headphones that I used to shove in my bag. So I'm pretty happy about that.
You know, I was expecting your sentence to end with, they're almost as good as my Bose QC3s. I was not expecting you to say that they're better. That's a lot to say from an earbud.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the sound quality is necessarily better, but the sound isolation is better. The and the cancellation is better.
Amazing.
So, all right. The biggest change in our house has been the rec room. And I've talked about this over the last 6 months or so as we've been doing construction and repurposing what was unused storage space at one end of our basement into a much more usable space. And I created a media space at one end of the rec room. We painted the room dark. We installed a 98-inch TCL quantum dot LED television. And by we, I mean I and two of Edward's employees from work that he bribed with a good dinner to come help me. And we mounted it on the wall, which was quite a feat. And then I ultimately ended up purchasing the Sonos Arc Pro. That's the newer Arc. The Era 300s, the larger, that have upward firing speakers in them. So they can do, if you want to call it simulated Atmos. And the Sub Mini. Again, the Sub Mini, I really don't like the look of the main Sonos Sub, and I can't justify the cost difference. It's like $900 versus $500. And in my experience, the Sub Mini is a great, great device. I've been happy with it everywhere else. So I also put it in the rec room there. And there, we use one remote and one remote only, the TV remote, because I only have one thing there, the TV. No inputs. It has Google TV on it. I am just using the TV. Now, I am very likely at some point to move my Xbox One S that I have up in the family room collecting dust. I think there are literally trinkets and pictures in front of it now on the stand where we have the TV. And I'll probably put that downstairs because I think it makes more sense for it to be down there. And then I'll have to think about how I handle switching inputs and stuff like that. And I did
and
run an extra HDMI cable through the wall down to underneath the TV so I can do all that connection without having to show any wires or do any new wiring.
Nice. Now, I think it's probably important to point out why you have an Xbox at all when we joke about the fact that you don't play games at all, and why you would move your Xbox to the basement to the record.
Yeah, that's a good point. My Xbox is my 4K UHD player. That is what that exists for in my home. And there are some discs that I have where the content is in spatial audio through Atmos, but streaming versions of the same content is not. And you may remember that while Plex can technically do Atmos, it can really only do it on one or two devices. Josh has one of them, which he doesn't use anymore. And I don't even remember what the other one is, but it is not built-in TVs, and it is not the Apple TV devices that I use around my home.
Right. And you're just going to get a better experience across the board with the actual 4K disc anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Makes sense.
So I'll move that down there at some point. Now, I mentioned that I did not do anything with the Hue Sync box down there. I might at some point add one to the TV, but I don't know. There are other things I want more. So I'm holding back on that for now. In the meantime, though, I do have a bunch of scenes set up with Hue lighting that I put in the adjacent bar area and in the ceiling above the television area. So that when I turn the TV on, it switches to movie mode and makes everything dark and kind of blue. And then when I turn the TV off, it reverts up to like a 50% 50% brightness on lights throughout the room. So nice built-in automation there that works just with the remote, and I don't have to be touching any buttons and keypads, even though I also have them around the room. Now, as far as content sources, I haven't changed a ton. I still have pretty much everything. YouTube TV is my TV service of choice. I use Apple Music for music, Netflix, Prime Video, Apple TV, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN, Peacock Premium, Paramount Plus with Showtime, now called HBO Max, Canopy, Plex, and Audible. We've added Tubi and Pluto TV into the mix because there's a lot of good content that they have there that is ad-supported, and we do end up watching a fair amount of that. And actually, the Roku TV app, which is available on my Google TVs, but not on Apple TV, that also has some good over-the-top fast content, free ad-supported content as well. So doing that. Now, some changes to those services. You may remember I was getting Max for free with my AT&T wireless service, and I switched to T-Mobile this year. And when I did that, I no longer got Max for free. So now I am paying for that, but I paid a special introductory annual rate when I signed up for that because it was a new subscription that I was signing up for. Wasn't really a new subscription. You may remember the whole ordeal with two different emails. One was really old, one was new. Anyway, got a good rate on that for the first year. I'm sure that'll skyrocket when I go to renew it next year. On Netflix, though, I am getting a discount for that. So I'm saving about $7 a month on Netflix by paying for it through T-Mobile. So that's a good discount there. Net, I ended up making out better because of all the benefits that I get through T-Mobile, not just streaming related, but reduced costs on stuff. So that I don't regret the change or losing my free Max subscription. I also only had the service that included like, I think 5-point audio or maybe even stereo for Max. Now I have the Dolby Atmos audio for that, which is nicer. And then on Prime Video, we added the AMC Plus channel at the end of the year. They had a $2.99 introductory period for a couple months. So we're working through that as we watch some stuff on that service. And that's it for our services. Interestingly, if I were to look back at the app that I used to track everything that I watch over time, it can't tell me what I did this past year, which is certainly something I hope they add, considering how much everybody does the whole year wrapped or year in review kind of thing. It'd be nice if TV Time had that capability. But overall, in the history of me watching and recording what I watch on TV, my number one network is still Netflix, which I find really interesting. Yeah. So I'm in a kind of strange area there where I'm definitely watching more streaming than any traditional channels, even through their streaming outlets. And it's kind of unusual. Now, realistically, you could argue I probably watch more YouTube than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, that's true for, I think, almost everybody at this point. But I don't know, like that does surprise me. But then again, it's not like when we go through what's in our entertainment centers, we don't specifically list out what service we're watching those things on all the time.
Right.
Especially for you, because you do watch a lot of different things. But I guess when I look at your current things that you're watching, including a lot of the like older Marvel shows and stuff that you've been watching this year, I think all of those are still on Netflix, like Luke Cage and what's the one woman who was dating Captain America?
Yeah. Well, so those are just Captain America. Those are all on Disney now.
Oh,
that's the other thing that's weird, because I did watch all of that stuff originally on Netflix. Now it's on Disney. So as I continue to watch it, I'm watching it on Disney.
So what the heck are you watching on Netflix?
I've watched a bunch of stuff on there. I watched Fubar. We've watched a bunch of movies on Netflix. Probably more movies than TV shows.
Okay.
If I think about it. So, yeah. And if you round all this stuff up in my home, I did a quick count before we started the show. I have 5 TVs throughout the house. I know I didn't talk about one of them. We have another one in a room we refer to as the library. It's a spare bedroom with bookcases in it. And we have a television in there as well. And then we have a total of 14 Sonos speakers. That includes sound bars. That doesn't include smart speakers. We have 4 of those. And then we have 3 subs in addition to all of that. And as far as streamers, I'm mostly Apple TV. 3 of the TVs are Apple TV and 2 of them are Google TV because it's built in. And I really do like Google TV quite a lot.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is indeed. All right. That's what my entertainment spaces look like this year. How about you? Has much changed for you, Josh?
Very little has changed for me, but I don't expect everyone to also remember what we were all talking about a year ago either. So, so I'll go through this. And again, I will, just like you, I will start in the room where we watch most things, and that is our living room. Like you, 65-inch LG OLED, mine's the C2, so it's gotta be 3 years old at this point, at least. Still using the On Google TV 4K Pro. I think that was relatively new last year when I got that. And despite the fact that that room also has my Xbox Series X and the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4 Slim, we're still only using the remote that came with the Google TV to control all of that. And, I think, if I'm being honest, the main reason for that is when it comes to switching devices, I'm the only one who does it. If people are just watching TV, they're using the On Google TV, which comes on automatically. And I'm the only one playing the Xbox, Switch, and PlayStation most of it. Like, Gia will occasionally play the Switch, but even then, a lot of times, she pulls it off the dock and just plays it in handheld mode. So, using that remote to switch inputs is not hard. There's a couple of mappable buttons, and I've got one of them mapped to the input selector on the TV, and most of the time, that's good enough. For sound in there, we are still using the WISA Sound Send, which is a wireless speaker technology. That's in a 3.1 arrangement. I've gone back and forth a couple of times. I think last year at this time, I did have a 5.1 arrangement set up, but like my living room is not easy to set up the surround speakers in. Like the couch is basically in a corner and it doesn't work great. So I just went back to the 3.1 setup there.
You might be the only person I know in real life who uses a WISA sound system.
I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
Which is a shame because it's a great technology.
It is, except that it does use 2.4. Is it 2.4? I think it is 2.4 gigahertz wireless, although it might be 5. That is a lot of extra wireless signals happening in your living room.
Yeah.
And you don't normally notice it until you decide you've switched internet providers and you've got a new router. And, it'd be nice to just set that on the entertainment center also. And then it basically doesn't work because there's so much other wireless interference because you have 3 wireless speakers right there also.
You sound like you're talking from experience.
Yeah. That was a weird night. I was like, why is this not work? And why does it work on 6 gigahertz? It was a very frustrating night when everything went haywire.
6? 5? 6?
Well, when I switched to fiber internet, I got the Eero Pro 6Es, and those are tri-band, so they do have a 6 gigahertz radio also.
Fancy.
Yeah, which my Legion Go has, my Pixel phones have. So I was really confused because everything was working great, but my MacBook and my iPad were going bananas because they don't have the 6 gigahertz radio. So yeah, it was bad. But yeah, it's a great feature. I don't think you really need wireless speakers on the front, but having that sub be completely wireless, that's really nice. And when I did have the surrounds, that was really nice. Okay, so the only other place that we have an actual television is in the basement, and that is my really old 55-inch Vizio 4K TV. As Richard talked about, I do have the NVIDIA Shield down there, but we almost never use that TV anymore. It is also where my old Xbox One S is. Again, that really only occasionally gets used by Gia with her friends if they all want to come over and play Minecraft together or something. But even that doesn't happen very often. So we used that TV when we were wrapping presents in the basement for Christmas a couple weeks ago, but it just doesn't get used all that often. So other kind of special use cases, you mentioned travel. Like you, I have switched to earbuds for everything. I absolutely love my Google Pixel Buds Pro 2, although things got a little frustrating there a couple of months ago when the microphone on one of them stopped working correctly. And I talked about that a little bit on a couple of episodes, and we heard from some listeners who had issues too, and then had fantastic support experiences. Mine was not fantastic. It took weeks. Like I called them, talked to them, and they were like, yeah, everything that we asked you to do isn't working. We're going to take your number and we're going to call you back in a couple of days. And they never called me back. And so I got a hold of them again. And it was a bunch of like just going around in circles for a couple of weeks before they were like, okay, cool, we'll send you a replacement. And so like once it all worked out, like they replaced my earbuds and I've got functioning earbuds again. But that was not the experience that I was hoping for.
No.
But they're great. I love them. The Lenovo Legion Go, I don't really know where to even put this. It is a gaming handheld, and I definitely use it that way, and it goes with me on every trip and every vacation and every weekend away as my way of playing games when I'm away from home. It's also the PC that I record our podcast on, which is kind of insane. but it works well for that. I've still got my old iPad Air, 4th generation iPad. I still love it. It still works really well. And that's, from a media consumption device, definitely travels with me as the device that I'm watching movies on a plane and things like that. And the Nintendo Switch was traveling with me a lot until I got the Legion Go. I've talked in the past about using my 24-inch monitor mounted above my treadmill for when I'm running. And I've had some mixed experiences with hooking my iPad up to it and different services behaving weirdly through that. Well, I got a Google Pixel 10 Pro XL. I think I got all of those words and abbreviations in the right order there. And a few weeks ago, I thought, well, this probably does screen mirroring if I plug in the USB-C hub to it. And it does. So that's what I've been using. I just plug my phone into a USB-C hub with an HDMI port on it. And it's worked out great, including with Amazon Prime Video. That was the one that was the flakiest with when I was trying to use the iPad. So I've had nothing but success when screen mirroring my Pixel phone to my monitor while running. And that's how I've been watching TV while running now.
Nice. When in doubt, use a wire.
Yes, for sure. And then in the car, nothing's really changed. Still Android Auto using the AA wireless dongle. In the garage, that has slightly changed. I spend a lot of time in the garage in the summer, especially. And so I discovered an old unused large JBL Google speaker, and I put that out there. It was sitting in a closet somewhere because it's not always the most reliable device, but for occasional use in the garage, it's been fine, and it's big and it sounds good. So, and now that I've got Euro 3s all over the house, I have no problems with Wi-Fi in my garage. So that has been working out quite well there. In terms of content sources, this has changed a little bit. I'm still an OTA guy. I don't pay for a TV service like YouTube TV like Richard does. So I'm still using an HD home run over-the-air tuner. What has changed is I'm not using Channels DVR anymore because that used to be running on my NVIDIA Shield TV box, and it doesn't support NVIDIA Shield anymore. So I have been trying to get all of that working on an old computer that I've got Linux running on. That computer has not been the most stable yet. So maybe in the new year, I will figure out what's going on there. Because I do like channels. Like it gives you an interface that everybody knows how to use. A lot better than just using the HD Home Run app, which is not great.
Oh, that's awful. The HD Home Run app is awful. The Channels DVR app, I mean, it's boring, it's uninspired, but it's easy to use.
Yep. It gives you that traditional guide interface that everybody's used to, everybody knows how to use. It's good. Yeah. So I do want to get back to that working. Most of the rest of it's pretty normal. Still a Spotify guy. I feel like I'm going to be a Spotify guy forever. One change in Netflix. I was looking at my subscription services. I'm like, I don't even know everything that I've got and how much they're costing me. So I was looking at all of that over the last week and was surprised when I noticed that I was still paying for the highest tier of Netflix service when I remember on this show many months ago when we talked about a price increase from Netflix going, I don't know why I'm paying for the top tier. I'm the only one in my house who cares about 4K. Right. So I had talked back then that I should just drop down to standard, and I didn't until this week.
And you don't need Atmos because you don't have that.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So down to standard tier on Netflix. We, of course, watch a ton of YouTube, a fair amount of Prime Video as of late. The Athletic is it's...
Now, let me ask you,
sure.
You don't pay to get rid of ads, do you?
No, for Prime Video, you mean?
They're getting worse. They're getting noticeably worse.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I pay for a subscription to The Athletic primarily for their podcast, so that I can get their podcast without ads. There's also a couple of podcasts that I subscribe to on Patreon. And then other services still, the Disney Plus, ESPN, Hulu bundle, audiobooks like Crazy, Libby, Hoopla, for free stuff from the library, Spotify if I can't get it from the library, and Audible under worst case scenario if I have to purchase a book. Almost never use Audible at this point. We've had Apple TV a couple of times. We don't currently have it. Probably need to at some point because Pluribus sounds great. Currently have Max. I got one of those Black Friday deals. It's the ad-supported version of Max, but it's $3 a month for a year.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah, that was an easy one. We got some sort of crazy deal on Peacock too. I think that was a 6-month deal, and yes, that was before their big price increase going into the fall. So we've got that for a few more months. And on the gaming side, I still subscribe to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate because that's paid up through sometime this summer, I think, and then I'll have to make the decision of whether it really makes sense for me to pay $30 a month for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned Patreon, and I didn't even think about that. There's quite a few podcasts that I support through Patreon that contribute notably to my monthly my monthly bill of streaming services.
Yeah, those can add up if you're supporting a lot of different podcasters.
Yeah. But I don't really have a problem with it.
Right.
And I think I've talked with you about this. Like my only thing there is I only support people who are doing this as their thing. Like this is how they support themselves. And so I'm trying to support people who are trying to make a business out of being a podcaster.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Makes sense. All right. Well, I think it makes sense for us to dive into what's going on in our entertainment centers lately before we jump into our favorite media picks for the year. So, Richard, what's going on in your entertainment center?
Yeah. So we have fallen way behind in The Voice. I think it might even be over by now, but we've watched a couple more episodes of that. We're continuing to watch through Mary and George on AMC. Stranger Things, I think, is going to come to an end by the time you're listening to this episode of this podcast, but we've only watched the first episode of this season so far. We did start it, and then we kind of got distracted by life. So I'm hoping to get back to that, but that's probably not going to happen until mid-January, and we'll talk in a little bit more about why that is. Then I mentioned that I was watching the second season of Luke Cage. I finished that on Disney Plus, and I started the second season of Iron Fist. Iron Fist gets a lot of crap. People really did not like this series. And I understand what their problems were with the first season. It felt slow, even though a lot happened. And from what I can tell so far with the second season, they seem to have addressed a lot of those issues. So I'm glad about that and looking forward to completing that in my Marvel Defenders watch that I'm still trying to complete. I did see the season finale. I finished the season and watched the season finale of Pluribus. Pluribus is a must-see show for me the day it comes out. I go and watch that night. I love this show. First season is over. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Can't wait for more. It's funny because the main character is hard to like, but I think it's a great show. Have you? No, you don't have Apple TV, right?
I don't have Apple TV.
You have not tried it yet.
I want to. So I was talking to another friend of mine who really likes this show, and he said he watched the finale and he said, it's a great show. The finale did not feel like a finale. And he was like, frankly, if you don't have Apple TV Plus yet, I guess it's just Apple TV. Geez, I should know this. We did a whole episode about it. If you don't have the service yet, he's like, I don't know, wait until season 2. Like his take was there's no rush to watch season 1 because he said, in his opinion, they didn't answer a lot at the end of season 1.
No, that's correct.
So it doesn't really, and I think he said there's not even that much of a cliffhanger. He said it just didn't feel like a season finale.
I think the last minute was freaking awesome as a final way of ending the episode and the season. But I would agree that unless A, you're worried about people spoiling it for you, or B, you also spoiling, you don't even know what the premise is. And you're worried about that being spoiled, because that, I think, is the coolest thing, is not knowing what you're getting in for and starting to watch the show and thinking, wow, I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this.
Yeah. The way he described it, though, it just had me remembering how I felt at the end of season 1 of Stranger Things, where I was so angry about how they didn't answer anything. And I was like,
Really?
I don't want to watch any more of the show.
But see, I disagree completely on that too, because that brought me back to season 2, because I wanted to know, okay, let's explore this. What is going on? Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So I watched a little bit more of the Bob Newhart show. I think I told my story about my Gemini agent on my television. Did I tell that story? So I have Gemini built into the Google TV now. And so I figured I'd try it out. All right. And I asked it, where can I stream season 4 of the Bob Newhart show? And it told me that the 4th season of the Bob Newhart show is not available for streaming. It spoke that aloud to me, and it had this whole description on the screen about the show, but it's not available for streaming. And then immediately under it, it said, Gemini recommends, and it had a tile for the Bob Newhart show on Amazon Prime.
Do they have season 4 on Amazon Prime?
So I clicked it, and it went to season 4 of the Bob Newhart show. So I paused after it started playing, and I asked it about that. I asked Gemini, well, why did you say it's not available when in fact it was? And it told me that it must be something special on my account, because according to its records, the show is just not available on any of the services that I have. Sure. Okay. Whatever. The next night, I decide to try it again. And I try a different approach. I say, okay, play the next episode of the Bob Newhart show. And Siri responds, or not Siri, which is what was so weird to me in this situation. Gemini responds by saying, okay, now playing on the entry hall speaker. And it resumed playing the next song on the playlist that was queued up on Sonos to play on the entry hall speaker.
Wow. Wow.
I tried it again, and it did the exact same thing. So as far as I'm concerned, Gemini is just as bad as all the other AIs out there right now.
Huh.
Yeah. My first experience with Gemini. It was awesome. All right. You asked, what do we watch on Netflix? Well, in fact, we watched last year's Christmas movie on Netflix, Red One. Did you watch this?
No.
It's The Rock, and I'm trying to think who else is in it, because there were a lot of really good character actors that you would recognize, and it was a really, really clever take on the lore behind Christmas, including Santa Claus and a bunch of other Christmas characters, some kind of seedy, that are usually not discussed in Christmas movies. So it was cool. It was really, really clever. I liked the way it weaved these various cultures' Christmas lore together, and it basically created an action film that was designed for Christmas around Santa Claus. So if that sounds interesting to you, I would recommend it. Now, we also watched the new Jurassic World movie, Jurassic World Rebirth. Josh, this is a terrible, terrible movie.
It sure is.
This may be the worst movie I saw all year long.
That's probably true for me too.
Like, even Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan, whatever his name is, I don't know why I can't remember his name right now, could not save this movie. It was just so bad. Wow. You saw that in a theater, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw it in the theater. So at least I had that going for me. Because, like, it is big, fun, action, dumb, dinosaurs.
Oh, it's dumb.
But, yeah.
It's lots of dumb.
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah. I've been still trying to catch up on podcasts. And, I've been basically running behind the 1 month line. And I just today, again, caught up with being 1 month behind on my podcasts.
You're not going to catch up until like mid-February.
I mean, that's entirely possible. Yeah. Okay. What is going on in all of your entertainment areas, equipment, and stuff?
One game started a new game called 1000X Resist, I think is how you're supposed to pronounce this thing. But who knows with these game titles, right? This is a little bit more of a story-based game. I'm playing it with my friend Joe, who I used to do the Story Players podcast with. It is on Game Pass on Xbox and PC. So if you're paying for Xbox Game Pass, you don't have to pay extra to play this game. It's supposed to be 10-ish hours long. It's sort of like Pluribus in that the less you know about the game going in, the better. But it is, because it is all about story, and it's a very interesting sci-fi-ish story. It's been cool so far. I'm through like 2.5 chapters. I think there are 10 chapters. I've enjoyed it a lot so far, and I'm not really going to say anything else about the game because I do think it is a game that you should go into not knowing a lot of it. For some reason, the description in the Xbox store for it is very long. Maybe just read the first paragraph. Don't read the whole thing, because I think even
spoilers?
I think it is a game that if you go in knowing less, I think you'll enjoy it more. And they get fairly deep into what the story is. And I think it's probably better experienced by not reading the description in the store. So read the first paragraph. And if that sounds interesting, go play it. Otherwise, don't. So, yeah. Okay, movies. I sat down and watched one battle after another. I'd heard this is one of the huge, huge movies this year that everybody should see. I think it was up for a bunch of Movie of the Year awards. I can never remember which ones are the movie awards. Is that Oscars? That's probably the Oscars, right? I don't know. It was good. And Leonardo DiCaprio's acting is fantastic. He's such an amazing actor. He was so good in this movie. I think there's just something about it that everybody else is super excited about that I don't get. It's well done. It's super well done. It's an interesting story. The acting is fantastic, but I guess I don't get why it was Movie of the Year sort of nominee. And don't take that as a reason to not watch it. Go and watch it if you can handle movies with violence and all that sort of stuff. But I I didn't walk away from it going, wow, that was just so great. I did walk away from it going, oh my gosh, Leonardo DiCaprio is so good. But I don't know. I guess I just don't get it. Maybe someone needs to explain it to me why this was such an important movie this year. I don't know. TV, I have a lot to talk about. Fallout's been not Fallout. Football has been miserable. The Lions have lost a bunch of games in a row, so that's not been fun. Fallout Season 2 has started, and I have watched all of them. I didn't realize that this was one of those shows that only releases episodes every week. So that was kind of annoying when I was only about halfway through my run this morning and the episode finished and it didn't play the next one because there wasn't a next one to play. But Fallout, it continues to be as good as it was last year, in my opinion. I don't know. It feels weird to call this show fun, but in some ways it's fun. Like, it is satire, right? So, okay. And Richard's probably losing his mind because I'm going in reverse order here in the show notes. The Copenhagen Test. This is a brand new show on Peacock. I saw ads for this like a month ago, and I was like, this sounds so cool. It's got, I'm going to forget or mispronounce his name, Simu Liu, I think. The actor who played Shang-Chi in that Marvel movie, he plays, it's sort of like a CIA agent, but it's a fictitious agency that's like above the CIA. He's a spy, and his brain has been hacked to the point where the people who have hacked him can see and hear everything that he sees and hears, which is a really cool premise.
Yeah.
With a really good actor.
Yep. I saw the trailer for this and it looked really good.
It's really mediocre.
Oh.
The actor, the premise, they're all let down by some not great writing, especially in the first 3 or 4 episodes. It's gotten better. And like, we're going to finish the season. Like, it's not so bad that I don't think you should watch it. But there's been a lot of really good TV this year. This is just mediocre TV. And I wished it would have been better than
That's
it
a
is.
shame.
Yeah. So we're like 5 episodes through. So we're more than halfway through. Again, it's good. If the premise does sound interesting, then maybe check it out. Maybe I'm being too harsh because I'm coming off of something else that I absolutely loved. I don't know what to slot this under, whether it's a TV show or a movie. It's more of a mini series. It is called All Her Fault. This is also on Peacock. It's an 8-episode thing that was based off of a book. I don't think it's a TV series because
miniseries.
It's more like a mini
series.
Yeah, because it's 8 episodes, but it's done. Like, there's absolutely not going to be anything more. There won't be a season 2. So yes, it's a mini series sort of thing. The premise here is woman gets a text from another mom in her school parents group saying, your son and my son are having a play date. You can pick him up around 5. Here's my address. And she goes to the address at 5 to pick up her son, and her son is not at this house. And the person at the house has no idea what is going on, has no idea who the son is, no idea who the mom is. And that's all I'm going to say. And it's really, really good. So we, for Christmas, spent a few days at my in-laws. My in-laws are great. I love that. But we came home from that and Jen was like, I really just want to spend the afternoon on the couch. Let's just sloth for the rest of the day. And I was like, cool, let's start this show you've been talking about, All Her Fault. We watched the whole thing in one day.
That is,
it's like, 8 episodes. It was really good. Really,
wow.
Like, if you love a really interesting mystery drama sort of thing, this was really good. The only actor in it that I recognized was one of the main husbands was also in the first season of White Lotus. He was the husband who's in the intro of the White Lotus, as he's the one in the airport coming home from the White Lotus. He's that guy. kind of plays a similar character, kind of a crappy husband in this show too. So it's really good. I highly recommend this. And I didn't write it in here, but I also just started a new book for my book club that is called State of Wonder by Ann Patchett. I'm only 10% into this book, so I can't even really say much about it. I will fill you all in on the next episode about that. So that's what's going on in my entertainment center. So, Richard, let's talk about our favorite pieces of media. Maybe we go back and forth. Let's follow yours. Yeah.
And I've been going first for everything, so I think you should go first. And I'm going to give everybody a fair warning here. I'm bending the rules a little bit.
A little bit?
This isn't necessarily 2025 media. It's media that I have either discovered, consumed, or enjoyed in 2025.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fair. Although you watch plenty of new stuff, but okay. So I'm going to go in your order here and we'll go with movies first. This is where I struggle a little bit because I might consider All Her Fault a favorite of mine, but we don't really have a category for it. We don't have a mini series of the year.
Well, it's a TV show.
It's sort of a TV show, but
it would be on the Emmys, so it's a TV show.
Okay, we'll come back to that then when we get to TV shows. So right. for movies, I did limit this to movies that I saw this year, and I guess One Battle After Another was pretty good, but I think I'm gonna have to go with House of Dynamite that I talked about very recently, and we talked about it at the beginning of this this episode. So it's on Netflix if you want to watch it. It's about what happens if nuclear missiles are launched at the United States. It is very, very, very tense, very well acted, very well done. I loved this movie, and I'm pretty sure it did come out this year. So I win all of the rules here on this one.
Yeah, okay, fine, whatever. It sounds a whole lot like recency bias, but whatever.
Well, when I make this list, I open the show notes from every episode
I did too.
That we did this year. And
yep.
This was the best movie that I watched this year. Formula One was good, but it wasn't better than House of Dynamite.
Yep.
So what's your favorite movie this year?
So I think when I looked through my list of stuff that I've watched, I watched about somewhere between 25 and 30 movies over the year. And that's a lot of movies. My thing is that I wasn't at a movie theater for a movie once this year.
I don't think you've been to the theaters like since the pandemic, have you?
Well, I've been in theaters for events, but I have not gone to a movie theater to watch a movie since before COVID times.
Okay.
And part of that is not before COVID times, because during COVID, we had a really, really empty theater that I went to a couple times. But there hasn't been as much that I've really wanted to go see, or there haven't been people who've wanted to go see the movies that I've wanted to go see in a theater. So, as an example, Superman got so much cred this year. I watched it on my screen. It's not a movie theater screen. It was good. I liked it. I didn't think it deserved all of the credit and kudos it was getting from everybody. Maybe I would have liked it more if I saw it in theater. I don't know. The movie that I watched on my tablet, mind you, that I liked the most this year is something that I should have watched years ago when it came out. And that's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. What a fantastic movie. By far, it is the best movie I watched this year.
That's really impressive. And we sat down as a family to watch something a couple of weeks ago, and I reminded them, I'm like, guys, you like Spider-Man. You like Marvel movies. Even Richard is saying we need to watch Into the Spider-Verse. And they're like, okay, maybe we will someday, but not tonight. So I still haven't seen it either.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So what was what was your favorite TV show? That's what I have next on my
Okay.
list.
Well, for TV show, I am gonna leave All Her Fault as a special category of miniseries and not burn my best TV show on it, because there's been a lot of good TV this year. But if I'm going for a more traditional TV show and not a miniseries, I have to say The Pit. The Pit was so friggin' good, and I am really excited that season 2 starts like next week, I think, on HBO.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good stuff about this, and we were just talking about this the other night. Edward might even be interested in watching it, which would be cool because it'd be something that we could watch together during normal hours as opposed to late hours. But I've also been advised that because it's not on network television, it goes way deeper on ER gore than most TV shows would. And
That's
I
true.
don't know that excites me a lot.
It doesn't excite me either. And if you were to go back and listen to like the first episode of our podcast where I talked about this show, I remember saying it's a really good show, but it's gory and it can be really sad and it might all just be too much for me. And I just got over it and decided that I would watch it with my hands over my eyes during the gory scenes. And like Jen can deal with those. I don't. So she just tells me when the gore is over and I uncover my eyes.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, I'll play by the rules for my TV show, and then I'll tell you what my not by the rules pick would be. By the rules, my favorite TV show of the year was Andor season 2. Loved Andor. Probably this is a hard pick between this and The Mandalorian, but I think Andor was probably my favorite Star Wars series that I've watched so far in completion. It does such a brilliant job of connecting the fabric between the films and setting things up for Rogue One, where if you watched and enjoyed Rogue One, you were just kind of dumped into it and kind of had to figure out, okay, we're slightly before episode 4 and this all of this is taking place. Now, if you know and remember what happens in Rogue One, that may kind of frustrate you a little bit as you watch the series Andor, but I still recommend watching it. It was really, really good. My not by the rules pick would be The Sandman. And I think if I were picking my favorite thing that I watched this year, not caring when it came out, The Sandman was my absolutely favorite thing that I watched on television this year. A brilliant spinning of various mythological lore into one really tight and compelling story around one person. And I thought it was brilliant.
Nice. I was just earlier today thinking, I keep hearing Richard and so many other people saying that Andor is so good. And I think I'm out of things to watch on my own anyway. So maybe Andor should be the next thing that I watch.
Do it.
Even though I'm not a huge Star Wars guy and all of that, it's still, everybody makes it sound really good. So I might need to. And it's not like I've got an episode of Fallout to watch anytime soon. At least not for another week. So, okay. So now we're on to the book category. And this is one where I have to cheat and bend the rules and not pick a book from this year. As I looked over the books that I read this year, none of them really jumped out at me other than the one that I talked about at the beginning of this episode, which was that book, Nuclear War. It was just so well done. And, it did a really great job of explaining what actually happens, how we got here, what the science is of these things, what our Earth is going to look like if we ever do go through a nuclear war, and very clearly depicts that there are no winners in nuclear war. It's not an uplifting or a cheery book by any stretch of the imagination, but it was the best book that I read this year.
Did you choose that on your own, or was that a book club thing?
No, Jen read it for some reason, which is even more surprising to me because Jen typically just reads regular fiction stuff. So I was really surprised that she read this on her own and then recommended it to me.
Interesting. Well, I don't think this falls in the rules, but this is a book that I read this year. And at the beginning of the year, I read / listened to The House on the Cerulean Sea. And I really, really enjoyed that book. And of anything that I listened to this year, and we've had a number of books through our book club, this by far was my favorite pick and a great recommendation by you, Josh. So I'm glad I listened. I know you didn't like the sequel to this as much. That's still on my to-read list. So I do hope to get to it sometime this next year.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I think it was my favorite book of the year that I read it too. So yes, heaps of praise from both of us for The House on the Cerulean Sea. Good pick. Okay, podcast. Podcasts are another thing where you're probably not picking one that started this year because podcasts tend to be around for a while. I'm going to kind of cheat. No, screw it. I'm going to go with one. I'm going to go with a political one. It is called Central Air. It is, I forget how they describe it, but it is essentially a weekly political news recap sort of podcast from people who are in the middle. That's why it's called Central Air. They're not super far to the left or the right, and that's where I've found myself, especially over the last, decade. And they're really smart people with some really interesting takes on things. And I feel like most of the political news that we get is not really from the center. I mean, except for like very straight political news like you might get from an NPR news broadcast or something, which maybe even that take is controversial to say that NPR is not super to one side or the other. But Central Air is a little bit different, and I really, really like that one. And that one is new this year, so I guess it works on all counts.
Cool. I think you could argue that my picks are political. I highly suspect, but I have not yet listened to it, that had I listened to Rachel Maddow's Burn Order special podcast series that just finished before Thanksgiving, that would probably be my pick, because the historical research podcasts that she has done over the last few years have all just been stunning mirrors on the current day politics from our history. And this is really no different, as it looks at internment camps where Japanese Americans were taken and rounded up after after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and the literal burn order that was given to eliminate all records of doing that and the orders to do it. I just finished watching a 2-hour special that she did with the people she interviewed in the podcast, and it was stunning. I haven't listened to this though, so it doesn't qualify. What instead I'm going to go with is another highly political one. And you could rightly argue that this is probably very leftist. It's also from MS now called MS Now. I don't know why they kept the MS. It doesn't make any sense to me, whatever. But this is a show that, and to give you an idea of how political it is, used to be called Prosecuting Donald Trump.
Okay.
It is now called Main Justice. And it is two prosecutors, one former prosecutor and a current prosecutor, who are who used to work for DOJ or for branches of the Department of Justice. And they are basically breaking down the legality of everything that's going on at the DOJ these days. So it's been very, very interesting. I like it quite a bit. It is the first, like, it's on Tuesdays, and Tuesdays are hell for me for podcasts because most of my hour-long weekly podcasts hit on Tuesday. And this of them is the first one that I listen to. I absolutely love this show.
All right. You're just a month behind on it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, who can keep up anyway?
Right. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, that takes us to music. And I had a harder time with this one. I spend most of my time listening to new stuff. Like I look forward to every Friday and the Release Radar auto playlist on Spotify. Give me all the latest stuff that I might be into. So I'm not always listening to full albums unless I find one that I really, really love. And I really like this album that I'm picking, but I'm not sure that I would ordinarily pick this as an album of like, oh, absolutely love this, listen to it on repeat nonstop because I just loved it that much. But it was my number one album pick in my Spotify Wrapped. But it's not fair because it was only my number one album pick because I saw this artist in concert twice. And whenever I go to see somebody in concert, I listen to their music a ton, and so that I can be fully prepared. And so that artist is Vincent Lima. He's an indie folk kind of guy, and the album is called To Love a Thing That Fades. I don't want to sell this album short. It is very good, but it's not necessarily one that I would have just, like, it's not the one that I was like, I wonder what I should listen to. I should listen to that. It wasn't quite to that tier, but it's definitely the one that I listened to the most this year.
Interesting. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, I mean, he's not super well known yet. I think the most I paid for the concert tickets was like $35 a ticket. Like, he's not super well known.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, except for me mentioning it before, you probably wouldn't have otherwise heard of who my favorite music artist has been. I have been listening to a ton of music from the artist known as Haven, Haevn. I've mentioned this in the past. This is a duo, a Dutch duo that one is a singer-songwriter. The other was a former composer of soundtrack music. Two genres I love. Put them together. It's amazing and haunting and just really good background music. And I've listened to a bunch of their stuff over the last couple of months. Overall, this isn't my top listen in my Wrapped. Not a big surprise because, make fun of me if you want to. But my favorite song this year, I was obsessed with Ordinary. I thought that was a really, really cool, unorthodox song that it absolutely deserved the crazy success that it had by Alex Warren. It was on the top 10 charts, I think, for it came out this summer in July, I believe, and it was on the top 10 charts until Christmas songs started taking over the top 10 charts. So, yeah.
I don't think I know that song.
Yeah, you've got to know it. There's no way you haven't heard it.
I'll check it out after we're done.
Check it out. There's absolutely, and watch the video because the video is kind of cool. There's no way you haven't heard it.
Okay. All right. Good pick.
All right. Now my favorite category, games. Josh.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that Richard had us reverse order here so that everyone would have to wait to hear Richard's game of the year. So
that's totally it.
That's how we're going to end it. So I will do my game of the year. This was a little bit hard for me. There were two clear titles that rose to the top. Claire Obscure Expedition 33, and Split Fiction. They're very, very, very different games. They're both excellent. Expedition 33, you've heard me talk a lot about recently. It's a very, awesome Japanese style role-playing game. Just won like every award imaginable at the Game Awards. It's not my pick though. I have to pick Split Fiction. This was the co-op game that Joe and I played together in person on my couch. Very much like A Way Out that we played together. That was like 8 years ago. Every game that Joseph Ferris puts out is just a blast to play co-op, and they're required to play co-op. And I just have so much fun. And Split Fiction was his best one yet. So I can't not pick Split Fiction as my game of the year. It was just so much fun. And if you're thinking, I've been hearing a lot about this, I want to play it, I have a friend that I want to play it with, but I don't want us both to have to pay for this game. That's another great thing about this. You don't even have to buy 2 copies of it. Only one person needs to buy the game, and the other person can download the companion pass, basically.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's so cool. So if you're into co-op games, this one gets a little bit harder. So like, if the person that you're wanting to play with never plays games, then maybe that's not the right person for this game. But it's so fun. It is so well done. It's definitely my game of the year.
Cool. Well, my game of the year is nothing. Shocker. Shocker. Unless you count Duolingo as a game. It's gamified, but I don't think it's a game.
Yeah.
I didn't play any games this year. Not even Candy Crush. I played 0 games in 2025.
Really? There's not even like a mobile game you play?
Nope.
Wow. People think that I don't like fun because I don't watch comedies. You don't even play mobile games. Like, it sounds like you're the one who doesn't like fun.
Yeah, it's me. I'm totally anti-fun.
Okay. Not surprising that you didn't actually have a game of the year, but
yeah, I mean, come on.
Right.
We didn't really think I was going to have one, did we?
No, but it was fun toying with the listeners.
Yeah. Did you have anything else, or is that basically wrap it for you?
That wraps it up for me, along with my little special cheater of throwing in All Her Fault
miniseries not being a TV show. That's fine. I mean, I added so many additional items in there. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for this episode, but we are going to be in Las Vegas next week for CES. And it'll be the first time Josh and I have done CES together since 2019.
Yeah. So
crazy. Crazy to think of that.
Yeah. Did you see I'm not entirely sure why I put this on LinkedIn, but my LinkedIn post today, I was doing some packing and I found all of my previous year's badges.
Oh.
And so I took a photo of those and
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. At one point in time, I had to get rid of all the lanyards because they were taking up too much room. And now I just have the badges. But I did keep the badges because,
Yeah, you got to.
I need those for some reason.
Right. But no idea why, but I completely agree. Yeah.
So we're going to be at CES, and we are going to be recording an episode of Entertainment 2.0. And I don't know if you've been counting, but if you caught the episode number for this episode, that means that our CES episode is episode 700.
Yeah, that's wild. That's absolutely wild that we've been doing this long, that we've got 700 episodes of this crazy show.
Yeah, even with all of our absences, we still got to 700. So that's a pretty good thing, right?
Yeah.
So we'll be coming to you probably not live because that's tricky, but we will be recording on the show floor on Thursday, which means that the episode would likely be coming out later in the week than you might be used to lately. But look forward to that. And I am looking forward to seeing you again in person, Josh.
Absolutely.
Twice this year.
Right. And 3 times this year.
Wait, what?
I saw you in April.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. So 3 times within the last year. Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. Obviously, getting to hang out with Richard for a week is always the best part of CES for me. But lots of other people that I'm looking forward to seeing or meeting for the first time, and all sorts of fun tech stuff to cover. This is where it does actually make sense for me to plug all of the ways that you can follow us, because I'm going to say right now, there will be YouTube content. Go out and subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell so that you can be notified when we are releasing that stuff. Follow us on the socials. I'm at Josh Pollard on X and Blue Sky. I'm far more likely to be posting on Blue Sky, but the website is Digimedia Zone on X. Richard is Richard Gunther on Mastodon and richardgunther.com on Blue Sky. And of course, head on over to thedigitalmediazone.com to get all of that contact information, subscribe to everything, and of course, get our show notes from this episode. And we will keep you up to date on everything happening at CES next week, because that's going to do it for episode 699. He's Richard Gunther, and I'm Josh Pollard. Thanks for listening to Entertainment 2.0. Adios.
Goodbye.